Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Greg Orloff coming to you live from IIoT World. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer, and we are the first industry digital publication focused 100% on industrial IoT. That's the Industrial Internet of Things. Thank you for joining me here today. We have a special guest in the house. Her name is Dee Kamata, and Dee is the Global Product Manager for Industrial Cybersecurity and Collaborative Operations for ABB. Dee, would you mind giving us some background on that role? Sounds extremely interesting, and I know our listeners would love to hear more about it.
Hi, Greg. As you mentioned, I'm the Global Product Manager for the Power Generation and Water Business Unit at ABB. I'm responsible for collaborative operations solutions as well as cybersecurity solutions. What that means is collaborative operations is our new delivery mechanism for digital solutions. It combines the power of data with technology, in addition to that, data analysis. And then I'm also the product manager globally for cybersecurity related products.
Oh, thank you, Dee. That sounds like an interesting role and an all-encompassing role as well. Congratulations on the position. The energy sector has been catching a lot of buzz in the industry, and among the top 3 most attacked critical infrastructure sectors in the U.S. As the power sector adds more digital technologies to power plants, the opportunities for hackers is only going to increase. Can you share some of the specific steps that ABB has implemented to protect your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Greg. When we think about addressing cybersecurity risk, we start internally with what ABB does. Internally, we have policies, procedures, and standards set in place that our internal team follows. It's aligned to industry standards such as IEC 62443 and ISO 2700 series. And the goal really is to make sure that when we create and develop solutions, we are considering cybersecurity in mind. In addition to that, we follow a secure development lifecycle. You'll hear later on that a lot of our solutions and a lot of the industrial products were designed to have a really long lifespan. And so when you think about the lifespan of an asset, it's really important that you start developing the product or solution with security in mind, and then address security over that life cycle of the asset. And then finally, we offer an entire suite of cybersecurity products to our customers. We put it in an easy-to-use framework so they know how to structure their cybersecurity programs. And it includes anything from our flagship product, which is Cybersecurity Workplace, and addresses the baseline cybersecurity requirements like patch management, antivirus, backup and restore whitelisting. And then it goes through and some more forward-thinking products like Cybersecurity Asset Management, which really maintains a cyber asset inventory and helps with network monitoring and anomaly detection.
Oh, I see. Oh, thank you. That's insightful indeed. Can you share your perspective, Dee, on the state of the power and I guess the water industry for all that matters too, in terms of being prepared on the cybersecurity front in 2018 and looking forward?
Yeah, so I would say that within the utility space and specifically within power generation, they've been a little bit slower to adopt digital solutions because the risks associated with with digital products and cybersecurity have outweighed the benefits. So in order to really get the benefits of digital solutions, it requires remote connectivity, the transfer of data, and sometimes the risk to these assets for them hasn't been worth it. So they've implemented procedures like air gapping. But now you'll see, and we see that our customers have started to really consider cybersecurity. We've seen a lot of cybersecurity requirements in the proposals that they send our way. And we see them beginning to think and address cybersecurity concerns. So while they may have been slow to address cybersecurity, we really see an uptick in the way that utilities have began to consider and act upon cybersecurity needs.
Well, that's great to hear, actually. It's always good to hear proactive stories. How much of the cybersecurity challenge do you think lies in technology versus the human side of the equation?
I think this is an interesting question. A lot of the times when you hear about technology solutions, you kind of hear it addressed in 3 different categories: people, process, and technology. And I think that this is relevant even here. what we've seen is that the most successful cybersecurity programs and solution implementations have been backed by an organization that not only considers and thinks cybersecurity is important, but also supports through financial resources the activities needed in order to implement solutions that help increase the security posture of a particular organization. In addition to that, training of people and making sure that they understand cybersecurity is also critical. A lot of the times you kind of hear of people either being the weakest or the most strongest link in the chain. So if they don't understand the technology or why they're doing some of the things related to cybersecurity, it could either hurt or harm the organization. And then finally, there's multiple technology tools in place to help automate some of the more meticulous or more manual cybersecurity routine necessities. And so technology is also a very critical component to maintaining a secure posture.
No, you touched on a very key nuance to that. I think, the cultural implications across organizations are huge, and you need that holistic approach. You may not be aware, but last month we published an article from one of our contributors, and it was entitled Cybersecurity Threats, the New Reality for Utilities. So proactively speaking, Dee, can you give us some insight into ABB's approach to outsmart cybersecurity threats?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step is really defining and implementing a set of baseline cybersecurity requirements that the entire organization is held accountable to. And then from there, we say here at ABB, you can't really protect what you don't know is out there. So really understanding your environment, understanding the assets, understanding the behaviors on your network and what's normal, what's not normal traffic is really important. And then, like I mentioned earlier, just the balance between people, process, and technology. So making sure that you're doing the work to educate, train, and hire the right folks, that you are staying current on some of the key technology that can be implemented to automate those processes, and then having a supportive organization behind you that financially invests in cybersecurity is really critical. And then the other thing is cybersecurity and cyber risk is a huge space, and there's a lot of unknowns, which is one of the key characteristics of the field. And so we also encourage our organizations to plug into resources that are available, whether it's things like ICS-CERT that gives you vulnerability information, whether it's thought leadership that kind of gets you forward thinking about cybersecurity practices like IoT World or any other sort of thought leadership information. And then also leveraging information that's out there related to best practices, vulnerability management, et cetera. We really think that addressing cybersecurity can't be done in a silo.
Thank you for that. I want to go back to something as well. There's always been a focus in North America. I mean, looking back, especially to the blackout of 2003, how can utilities ensure their security measures are meeting the needs of the next generation in terms of smart grid? Do you have any insight on that front for us, Dee?
The advanced infrastructure from the next generation smart grid is really exciting, and it opens up lots of benefits for our customers. But it also, in that respect, it also increases the cybersecurity risk exposure that our customers and generators are exposed to. So one of the key things that we recommend when addressing cybersecurity risk through the smart grid is really deploy a defense in depth strategy. And one of the key components of that is building standardized network infrastructures and solutions so that it's easier to deploy cybersecurity related solutions and easy to remediate because of the consistency. In addition to that, we offer our customers multiple solutions that kind of address cybersecurity risk at different levels. I mentioned beforehand at the bare minimum cybersecurity requirements, we talk about things like patch management, hardening, whitelisting, backup and restore. Although those seem very basic conceptually when it comes to cybersecurity, that's really important when you think about the risk exposure that you may have by leveraging the smart grid. And then based off of that, we also believe that cybersecurity here is a journey. And so the goal is to mature year over year when it comes to your security posture, especially when you're getting into new territory like the smart grid. So as a partner to our customers, we like to build a plan that basically shows, starting at the basics and then going and moving towards more forward-thinking cybersecurity practices and procedures like anomaly detection or automated cyber asset inventory.
Got it. Okay, now that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I want to circle back to a point that you made a little bit ago, Dee. You've talked a lot about the reliance on standardization from the international frontier, as well as some of the North American standards. I think you even called out an IEC standard of 62443. Are standards keeping up with the pace of business? And the second question to that is there alignment, between the regions and the international programs that are out there?
That's a good question, Greg. I'd like to say a couple of things. First, standard compliance does not equal security, but it's a good way for our customers or anyone to think about how to address cybersecurity. So when you think about a standard or a policy, regardless of what it is, whether it be NIST or whether it be ISO or IEC, a lot of the buckets underneath that standard are pretty consistent. So it starts with organization, there's access controls, there's patching requirements, configuration management. So what that does is it really, like I mentioned, builds a framework for any organization to think about how to address cybersecurity. That being said, just because you've ticked the boxes doesn't mean that you won't experience an attack, a vulnerability or an attack, or that you'll be ready. It really is a continuous process and ensuring that every year you address the cybersecurity controls that should be in place and make sure that your technology and processes and people are really ready and are really educated on how to mitigate cybersecurity risks.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the insight. There's a lot going on at multiple levels in the world of standardization. So it's nice to hear that there is some alignment coming on and that ABB is participating in that frontier as well. Well, on behalf of the entire IoT world community and family, thank you, Dee, for sharing with us today. I truly appreciate the insight. And this is Greg Orloff signing off. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.